Am I the a-hole for telling my bio sister I'm sorry she wasn't adopted, but that doesn't have anything to do with me and I owe her nothing? I, 25 male, was placed in the foster system by my bio parents when I was 2 years old. I was adopted sometime later by my real parents. I recognize that I'm extremely fortunate and lucky to have been adopted before I had any real memory of the system, and that my parents gave me a better life than I would have ever had if I had stayed with my bio parents. I grew up privileged, went to private schools, had holidays abroad and had my tuition paid fully when I started uni. I was loved, and never lacked anything. I currently have a well-paying job as chemical engineer, a beautiful wife, a house paid off fully by my in-laws, and 2 children. I'm very grateful for everything I have and recognize that I would be leading a very different life had I not been adopted. Last year I was contacted by Opal, 27 female, who claimed I was her brother and wanted to meet up. After careful consideration I agreed. After doing a DNA test together and digging a bit into family history, Opal and I discovered that we were placed into foster care around the same time. Usually foster care will try to keep siblings together, but for some reason we were not registered as siblings and were placed into different foster homes, probably due to having a different dad's surname and being given up by different people. Opal got very upset by this discovery, even more so after she found out that while she was never adopted, I had lived a good life with loving parents. After the discovery, Opal started calling and asking to hang out with my parents and I, or asking me to do certain favors for her. It got uncomfortable really quickly since, to be frank, I don't know her that well, in all aspects except genetically she is a total stranger to me. I don't feel comfortable landing her money or introducing her to my entire family. She even made a couple of comments that made me uneasy when she asked me if I thought my parents would have adopted her also had they known she existed when I was adopted, and if I think they would accept her into the family now. Last night she called me again, this time to complain how she saw that the women in my family had a get-together over the weekend and how she felt excluded since she didn't get an invite. I told her that I get that she's upset, but that was a family get-together for all the women and she's not family to them, so she's not entitled to an invitation. Opal began screaming at me how it was unfair and how since I'm considered family she should be considered too by extension, and that I owe it to her to make sure my family invites her next time since it's the least I could do for her as someone who got adopted. I told her I'm sorry she feels excluded and that she wasn't adopted, but neither my family nor I owe her anything before hanging up the phone. Since then I've been receiving non-stop texts calling me an a-hole and an evil jerk. I'm starting to second-guess myself and need an outside perspective on the situation.
It's time to block her. You had no control over what happened to you as a 2-year-old and owe her nothing. I'm sorry she's jealous of your life and how fortunate you are, but that has nothing to do with you. She can't decide she's a part of your family just because she wants what you have. She sounds a bit unstable. I don't want to be unkind because I can't know her experiences, but again, it's not your job to provide her with a family or money or favors or whatever she's looking for. I'd look at this as a learning experience. You tried to do something and it didn't work out. End of story and end of contact, because if not, she will drain you like the emotional vampire she appears to be. Not the a-hole.
She's looking to you to make up for everything she missed out on. That's not your responsibility because it's not your fault that things didn't go well for her. She does sound like she needs help, but the kind she needs is way above your pay grade.
Not the a-hole. Block contact with her immediately. It's sad that she's had a tough life, but that isn't your problem, and it isn't your responsibility to fix it for her. You owe her nothing, but she feels otherwise. People like that are dangerous to have around, and you cannot reason with them.
Not the a-hole. I'd suggest ignoring her and after a while block her when her messages die down after being ignored. Don't give her any reason to believe she's wanted. It sucks that she wasn't adopted, but that's got nothing to do with you or your family. And give a heads up to your family if you believe she might do something crazy.
Not the a-hole. Life is unfair, her feelings are valid, but it's not your fault, and you don't owe her anything. Your reaction was appropriate.
Am I the a-hole for wanting to end a family tradition that excludes one child? Every April, my wife's family holds a family reunion. They don't celebrate holidays together often, so they go all out for these, renting a hall, catering, the works. The only weird event at these reunions is a clothing swap between the women of the family. For whatever reason, when my wife and her sisters all had daughters close in age, they decided a long time ago that this was the best way to do family hand-me-downs. All the women in my wife's family ended up being very short, 4 feet 10 inches 5 feet 1 inch, so they all wear rare, but similar sizes, so it's always worked out. With a 70-30 gender split and the only men in the family being myself, my brother-in-law, and my sons from a previous relationship, this swap meet is the main event. They make it a whole show about it. It's incredibly boring from the outside, so my boys and I always head out early if we go at all. This would be a non-issue if it weren't for my daughter, Kate. She's my wife and I's ours, baby. Kate took after my side of the family. We're a taller family, or at least not Keebler elves, so by the time she was 11, she started coming back with nothing from those parties. The first time, I assumed that she was just picky until I realized that she was starting to be bigger than her older sisters and cousins and had outgrown any size they would wear. My wife thought she needed to realize that not everything was for everyone and to just have fun being there. Last year, she started having body image issues thinking she was fat and needed to go on a diet, and now I'm thinking having this event is feeding it. This year is going to be a massive deal as my mother-in-law is going into a nursing home and is downsizing. She was so into fashion that she has an entire storage unit full, so this is going to be a ton of stuff. I'm starting to think the reunion shouldn't involve a clothing swap at all, and all of that should be done privately at another time. Family shouldn't be about a fashion show. My wife thinks that's ridiculous, and Kate is just having typical teenage problems that will go away on their own. But if she's so bothered, she can just not go or stay with the boys. I don't think that's right. This is mainly a girls' reunion. It's not like there's anything else for an alternative for her to share in because they don't really get rid of accessories or anything, it's just clothes. This event is starting to get mean and exclusionary, and it needs to end. I'm trying my best to make them see sense, and I'm getting nothing but arguments. Am I really in the wrong here?
Not the a-hole. Take her out shopping that day. Your wife will come home new clothes. Your daughter should get some new things also.
Or take her beforehand so she goes to that event already excited about her new stuff.
Probably unpopular opinion, but I think you are overreacting. My friend group has clothing swaps all of the time. I am on the larger side and often don't fit a lot. I still love that they have them and love participating. 1. Clothing swaps support sustainability by encouraging wearing used clothing. The clothing industry is a huge contributor to climate change. 2. They save so much money. 3. It is usually fun together. I really love that your wife's family includes it as part of their reunions. Like how fun. And what an incredible way to celebrate your mother-in-law by everyone getting to take some of her clothing collection. If Kate really doesn't like it, don't make her go. She can leave early with you and the boys. But to want them to cancel the entire thing because your daughter feels insecure seems extreme. I can't imagine asking my friends to stop them because lots of the clothes aren't my size.
You are the a-hole. I get where you're coming from, but you go into the wrong when you say that this event is starting to get mean and exclusionary. It's not. Kate doesn't fit the clothes that are getting swapped around, and yeah, that kinda sucks. But your wife is right. The really important thing is the fun of being there. Don't let your own biases take that away from your daughter.
Not the a-hole, but I don't think you should try to stop the tradition. The tradition needs to evolve. Ask the family if they can include accessories, or maybe add a new tradition of a Secret Santa-style event where everyone brings a specific person an item of clothing in their specific size. You could also start a tradition that includes the men and any women who want to participate. Maybe a novelty sock exchange? Something goofy that doesn't steal the show entirely but gives another focus and something else to take home. Last idea I have is to allow Kate to bring a friend. Somebody else who can join in on just observing the clothing exchange without ultimately taking anything. I think that seems pretty likely to take the edge off and allow her to have a good time.
What do you think of these stories? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel for more interesting stories.